Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, something big is happening behind the scenes in Minnesota. There is serious buzz involving a veteran quarterback from the AFC West. And that is not all. Another experienced name just popped up out of nowhere on the radar. As if that were not enough, an insider is saying a future Hall of Fame legend could end up leading this offense. The defense is in the mix too. Raw talent is projected to land in the draft. And in the middle of all that, there is a decision looming that could reshape the future of one of the franchise's biggest recent investments. Stay with me until the end. Before we dive in, quick message. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and drop a comment telling me where you are watching from. Let's get into it. It started like one of those random off-season comments. Half joke, half jab. But when a major insider starts bringing it up, the conversation shifts to a different level. And that is exactly what has happened with the Vikings over the past few days. The name that landed on the radar is Derek Carr. Yes, that Derek Carr. After hinting he might come out of retirement, reports surfaced listing Minnesota as a potential destination. When NFL.com connects your team to a quarterback like that, you cannot just brush it off as social media noise. The logic behind the rumor is simple. The team needs a veteran presence at the most important position on the field, someone who can compete, apply pressure, and even take over if the primary plan is not ready. Carr has started nearly 170 games in his career. That matters. He is not electric, but he is not a walking disaster either. He is steady. Sometimes steady is exactly what front offices convince themselves they need. But here is where fans split. Carr is the kind of quarterback who keeps you competitive. He just rarely pushes you over the top. He can throw for over 4,000 yards in a full season. He produces touchdowns. He keeps you in games. Yet he also comes with a known ceiling. Let's be honest, the Vikings have a long history of chasing veteran quick fixes at quarterback. We have seen this movie before. Some runs were fun. Some left scars, so this is not a simple debate. It feels like collective déjà vu. There's also the reality that it would not be as easy as picking up the phone and signing a deal. Contractual rights complicate things. A trade could be required. A draft pick might be involved. Negotiations could drag out. Every draft selection matters when you are trying to build something sustainable. So here's the real question. Does bringing in Carr protect the team, or does it delay a process that already started? When you add a veteran of that caliber, you send a message internally. Real competition, no guarantees. This debate is going to light up sports bars and group chats. Some will call it security. Others will call it fear of committing to the future. Tell me straight up, would you make that move or pass on it? I want to feel where this fan base stands. Because get ready, the next name that surfaced in this quarterback carousel is even more unexpected. It completely changes the tone of the conversation. There are moments when this offseason feels like quarterback bingo. Blink, and another name appears. It is not always the obvious ones everyone has already debated to death. This time, the conversation turned to Geno Smith. But slow down. Do not just toss the name out without context. The spark came from someone deeply connected to Minnesota. Tom Pelissero mentioned Geno as a possibility. When Pelissero talks Vikings, people listen. He tends to have solid information. The situation in Las Vegas fuels this speculation. Geno is currently with the Raiders. Major change is expected there. Coaching turnover. Organizational reset. There is a real chance the team could release the veteran to clear salary cap space. With the number 1 overall draft pick, Las Vegas is widely projected to start over with a rookie quarterback. If that happens, Geno hits the market. Now it gets interesting for Minnesota. The team needs someone who can handle a hybrid role. Potential starter. Potential backup. Let training camp decide. Let preseason reps decide. Geno, at least in theory, can accept that without disrupting the locker room. He has experience. He has been a backup. He has revived his career before. That matters. When he has been good, he has been legitimately good. Back in 2022 in Seattle, he put together a strong season. Nearly 70% completions. Over 4,000 passing yards. 30 touchdowns. A Pro Bowl selection. Comeback Player of the Year, that is not nothing. But the most recent memory is 2025. That version was rough. The Raiders struggled badly. Geno completed a high percentage of passes, but 19 touchdowns and 17 interceptions will make any fan uneasy. That stat line makes you nervous. Still, it is not fair to ignore context. Minnesota offers better coaching stability, a more quarterback-friendly system, a far stronger group of pass catchers. Put a veteran with a capable arm next to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson, and the dynamic changes. It does not guarantee magic, but it changes the equation. The core issue comes back to money. The Vikings are not in a position to outbid everyone. If Geno is affordable, he becomes a legitimate option. If the price climbs, the conversation likely ends. Inside the building, this is about balance. Raise the team's floor now without stalling the development of a young quarterback who represents the future. That is a tightrope. Fans are divided. Some want stability after last season's inconsistency. Others are willing to endure growing pains to build long-term. I understand both sides, but hold that thought. Another veteran name is floating out there. This one carries star power, headlines, and serious locker room implications. Some names just refuse to fade away. Just when you think they are off the board, they come roaring back into the conversation. That is exactly what is happening with Aaron Rodgers. And this is not random speculation. The spark came from respected voices covering Minnesota closely. Kevin Seifert mentioned there are still people inside the building who like the idea. Once that gets said publicly, fans start picturing what this offense could look like with a veteran of that magnitude at the controls. But the situation is complicated. First, Rodgers has not even confirmed he wants to play in 2026. With him, that decision can become a saga. Second, there is the Pittsburgh connection. Terry Bradshaw said he heard Rodgers would consider another season if Mike McCarthy wanted him back. That makes it seem like Pittsburgh could be the logical spot. Yet Seifert made it clear nothing is locked in. There is no guarantee. For fans who live and breathe Vikings football, this storyline hits differently. It circled the team last year as well. Many felt the final decision was not straightforward. Diana Rossini recently noted that Kevin O'Connell did not have the final say on roster decisions. That changes the way people interpret what happened before. If leadership now decides a high-level veteran is necessary, Rodgers becomes an intriguing shortcut. He still produced in Pittsburgh. He threw 24 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. That was without a receiving core comparable to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. It is hard not to imagine the upside. But the cost is not just financial. It is locker room dynamics, media attention, massive expectations. It is also the message sent to any young quarterback already on the roster. Bringing in Rodgers is not about mentorship. It is about handing over the keys. He is a huge personality with a distinct leadership style. Some players thrive under it, others bristle. In Minnesota, tension escalates quickly if results dip. So here is the real question. If the opportunity became real, would you embrace it or avoid it entirely? Tell me exactly how you feel. Because the next development shifts focus away from quarterbacks and shines a spotlight on the draft. A different name is suddenly tied to Minnesota's top pick. There are moments when fans look at the roster and ask who is going to cover in a league built on the passing game. In today's NFL, if your secondary slips, you pay for it immediately. That is why the latest mock draft is turning heads. Field Yates of ESPN projected Minnesota selecting a cornerback with the 18th overall pick. The position itself is not surprising. Cornerback has been one of the most common projections. What stands out is the specific name attached to the selection. Instead of the usual prospects, Yates connected the Vikings to Brandon Sissy from South Carolina. Sissy is not a stat sheet superstar. He is a traits prospect, elite speed, explosive movement, outstanding athletic profile. The kind of player who can light up the scouting combine and skyrocket up draft boards. His season numbers were solid but not overwhelming. A handful of pass breakups, 1 interception, a forced fumble, a strong but not elite grading profile. The argument for him in the first round centers on upside. He can run with anyone in man coverage. He flashes physicality and run support. That would appeal directly to defensive coordinator Brian Flores. Flores values defenders who are not afraid of contact. Sissy fits that mold. But there are valid concerns. Evaluators describe him as raw. His technique needs refinement. Route recognition and instincts are still developing. That is the risk. He could become a star with the right coaching, or he could struggle if the transition to the professional level proves too steep. Some major rankings place him outside the top 20 overall prospects. That raises the obvious question, is 18 too high? Do you draft for upside or do you prioritize someone more pro-ready? That decision impacts the defense immediately. At the same time, there is belief that Flores and the defensive staff could unlock his ceiling. If they see a future shutdown corner, this could reshape the secondary for years. But potential always comes with uncertainty. Fans who live and breathe Vikings football understand that better than anyone. Just as this draft debate heats up, The conversation swings back to the quarterback room. It lands directly on J.J. McCarthy, where a blunt warning from a former player is raising the pressure heading into camp. Now we reach the storyline that goes beyond rumor and touches the identity of the franchise. This is about who leads, who develops, who survives competition. The focus is J.J. McCarthy and what happens if Minnesota signs a veteran to compete. There is a major difference between adding depth and adding someone who knows the system inside and out. That is where Kirk Cousins enters the conversation. Deanna Rossini ignited speculation. She said she is monitoring whether there is real interest in Cousins. She specifically mentioned Minnesota as a possibility because of his history with Kevin O'Connell and the team's desire to create competition for McCarthy. Suddenly, this is not abstract, it is plausible. Then Shannon Sharpe weighed in with a blunt warning. If the Vikings bring back Cousins, McCarthy would have to win the job outright because the veteran already understands the system. Sharpe argued it would be different if Minnesota signed a quarterback who needed time to learn the playbook. But with Cousins, there is no learning curve. He knows the language of the offense. Sharpe also suggested that last offseason the team avoided adding a veteran who could clearly beat out McCarthy. That may explain why Sam Darnold moved on. After what happened in 2025, the organization's mindset could shift. Adam Schefter reported that Cousins is expected to be released by the Falcons before the new league year. He intends to consider all options. That includes television or retirement. He still wants to play. When Schefter asked about Minnesota, he did not receive a definitive no or yes. That leaves the door slightly open. At its core, this debate is about courage. The courage to commit to a young quarterback. The courage to invite real competition. The courage to handle pressure. Signing Cousins could stabilize the short term. It could also cast a massive shadow over McCarthy. Sometimes shadows consume development. The franchise is standing at a crossroads between immediate security and long-term growth. The decision will define the next chapter. Stay with me on this. The table is full. This is no longer just off-season chatter. Carr, Geno Smith, and Aaron Rodgers signal a clear search for veteran stability. The Brandon Sissy projection highlights ongoing defensive needs. J.J. McCarthy is on the brink of facing the kind of pressure that separates promise from reality. The noise around Kirk Cousins only amplifies that tension. This is not a simple choice. It is about identity. Drop your thoughts in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go.